Okay, so this is the burning question that everyone has been asking, and no one is really given an answer to this specific question. I have been again inundated with DMs asking me the same thing as if I know. I have no clue. But it is a common question that's going around. People are now questioning a lot of different things, as they should. I just want to say, the video that you're about to see is just part one. I'm going to host a live panel on YouTube this Saturday about this whole situation with an array of different people who have close connections to these people, who know more, who know them personally, all that, and I just kind of want to have a discussion about this, because I just want different perspectives, because there's so much to unpack. There really is. There's so many things to question: people's morality, their intentions, their behaviors, lets you know their character, their ethics, you know what I mean? So these are all things that needs to be questioned. Like, what is the end game? What is your motive? What are you doing? And I just want to make this very clear. I am not victim blaming, shaming anyone. I want to make that very clear. Okay? I'm a very fair person. I am not emotionally invested into this at all. However, the way that my brain thinks is very black and white, and I'm kind of like, right is right, wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter who you are. It does not matter. You're not exempt from being called out. You're not. You're not exempt from people questioning your choices or behaviors. You know what I mean? So people question me all the time. Every day. So I'm not exempt either. But a lot of people have brought things to my attention, and through my own research and listening and studying and researching, I have a lot of questions too about what's going on. It just seems a little suspicious. I want to say that I loathe Nature Boy. Okay? I do not support this cult at all. I want him to remain exactly where he is for the remainder of his life, for all the wrong things that he's done. That's the absolute truth. I don't want him out. I don't want Carbonation to reform, to regroup. I don't want a part 2. I don't want a season 2. I don't want a spinoff. I don't want any of that. I want Elijah to stay in jail. However, I want him to be in jail for crimes he actually committed. For sure and guaranteed. I mean, for a fact. Now, there are crimes that we know, that we saw ourselves, that we know that he did. We know that. We know about the money laundering, the beatings, the loans, just all kinds of things that we probably don't know that they found, But in this particular situation, there's a lot of questions to be asked and answered, and I'm going to be very transparent right here, and I'm going to speak more about this Saturday when I host this live. It's not a secret, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm going to tell you just how it is. I'm a victim of sexual assault twice. Okay, and I'm not here to be, I don't need any empathy or sympathy, or I'm not lying. That's nothing to lie about, because the first time it happened, I was 12 years old, and the second time it happened, I was 23 years old. And both times it was aggressive, it was completely taken from me, and it traumatized me in ways that I can't even describe. My behavior after these incidents changed dramatically. It changed my personality. I hid within myself. I hid from the world. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want anyone to look at me. I was ashamed of my body. It was just a weird moment. If you've never experienced it, you can't really comment on it. That's all I'm going to say. And the only reason I'm commenting on it is because I've actually been sexually assaulted in my life twice. I'm a real victim. And so I have questions. I do. Because that's some traumatizing BS, dude. It is. It hurts your soul. And all you want is for that person to be punished for what they did to you physically, mentally, and emotionally for the rest of your life. That memory of what happened to me is never going to go anywhere. I never lied to the authorities about what happened. I never exaggerated anything. Actually, it took me a while to even come forward, especially when I was younger, to my mom, because I was ashamed, like I did something wrong. I don't know. I guess I'm looking at it from a victim's perspective, and I just don't like how this is looking, okay? And I don't like how quote unquote evidence is getting posted and deleted and reposted and deleted because they don't want certain people to listen or hear this particular interview for whatever reason. I don't know why this is happening. I don't understand it. I don't understand the motive. But I do know that it's bringing this particular person a lot of attention, you know, so that can be the end game. Let me stir up some drama. Let me, have people curious as to what I'm doing or why I'm doing this. Let me create more static in an already cluttered situation. I don't know, guys, but it's weird, and I want to talk about it. I know I'm the minority. I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me. I don't care. But I feel like everyone gets a chance, and it's everyone's right to say how they feel about a situation. Everyone does not have to agree. And just because I may not agree with you doesn't make me wrong. And it doesn't make you wrong. We just have different ways of seeing the same thing. We're looking at the same thing, but we're seeing something different. So this is just, I guess, a teaser of what's going to be discussed Saturday with real people on the panel, and it's going to be a chat because I want to be more engaged with you guys. So that's what's going to happen. So look forward to that.
People also ask, what are the common victim behaviors? Sometimes victims fear getting in trouble for their own bad or illegal behavior: underage drinking, using drugs, lying to parents about where they are or who they are with, and will make false statements to friends, family, and even investigators about those acts. Why rape and trauma survivors have fragmented and incomplete memories. Time subscribe first. Let's consider the prefrontal cortex. This part of our brain is responsible for executive functions, including focusing attention where we choose, rational thought processes, and inhibiting impulses. You are using your prefrontal cortex right now to read this article and absorb what we've written, rather than getting distracted by other thoughts in your head or things going on around you. But in states of high stress, fear or terror like combat and sexual assault, the prefrontal cortex is impaired, sometimes even effectively shut down, by a surge of stress chemicals. Most of us have probably had the experience of being suddenly confronted by an emergency, one that demands some kind of clear thinking, and finding that precisely when we need our brain to work at its best, it seems to become bogged down and unresponsive. When the executive center of our brain goes offline, we are less able to willfully control what we pay attention to, less able to make sense of what we are experiencing, and Time subscribe. These advances in our understanding of the impact of trauma on the brain have enormous implications for the criminal justice system. It is not reasonable to expect a trauma survivor, whether a rape victim, a police officer, or a soldier, to recall traumatic events the way they would recall their wedding day. They will remember some aspects of the experience in exquisitely painful detail. Indeed, they may spend decades trying to forget them. They will remember other aspects not at all, or only in jumbled and confused fragments. Such is the nature of terrifying experiences, and it is a nature that we cannot ignore. James Hopper, Ph.D., is an independent consultant and instructor in psychology in the Department of Psychiatry at Harvard Medical School. He trains investigators, prosecutors, judges, and military commanders on the neurobiology of sexual assault. David Lesick, Ph.D., is a forensic consultant, researcher, national trainer, and read next.
Welcome to a course on rape trauma stress disorder, brought to you by allceus.com. Rape is a pervasive medical, legal, psychological, and social problem that affects people of all races, genders, and socioeconomic statuses. When someone is a survivor of rape, they must make difficult decisions in the midst of a crisis. Difficult decisions include reporting the rape or not reporting the rape. Unfortunately, a lot of the evidence is time sensitive, so it is crucial that in this time of crisis, the person makes the decision, at the very least, to go have the exam if they think that they may want to report either now or at some point in the future. PTSD is very common in rape survivors, and support from individuals, families, and communities is essential in their recovery. The first thing that has to happen for a lot of people is they have to label the experience as rape. And the question arises, is it necessary to label something as rape necessary for recovery? Well, there's a lot of controversy about that. It's been found that those who label their experiences of rape have greater incidence of PTSD symptoms, long-term decreased physical and psychological well-being. Now, you could also postulate that those who label their experience as rape had a more significant encounter, whatever it was more violent, it involved a stranger, there was something different about it that made it just unmistakably rape, as opposed to those people who may be survivors of rape but don't label it as rape. And this more commonly occurs in relationships, in, how shall I put it, business transactions. So it's one of those things that we have to look at. Is it the labeling it that makes it seemingly more difficult to deal with, or is it the fact that the experience itself was more difficult to deal with, but it was unquestionably labeled rape? Some people argue that it may be necessary for a survivor to integrate their experience by labeling what they've experienced as rape. You could, again, go at it from the different perspective of there are a lot of different ways they can integrate this experience as opposed to just the one way of being a rape survivor. That is something the individual has to decide how they're going to deal with that, their loss of a sense of safety and security, their sense of violation, their fear, their whatever repercussions may come from it if it were a relationship-involved rape or, heaven forbid, a family-involved rape. So you need to consider what the ramifications are for the person of labeling it as rape. And even those things that are clearly rape may cause the person more harm as far as difficulty integrating it in the long run based on their culture. Some cultures are just not going to accept rape as acceptable, or a survivor of rape as being acceptable. And unfortunately, even in this day and age, that's true. So what's going to happen if the person was raped, and if they label it as rape, if and when their family finds out? So do they need to label it as rape in order to get help? Hopefully we've come far enough in a society that that's not true, that people can get help even if they have difficulty acknowledging it or culturally just can't bear the thought of identifying it as rape. When labeling and reporting rape, relationship between the victim and perpetrator is the key. Intimate partner rape is a whole lot less likely to be reported than acquaintance or stranger rape, in that order. Intimate partner rape, being between boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife, is almost never reported. Acquaintance rape, date rape, is reported more often, but it's still grossly underreported. And stranger rape is reported a whole lot more often, to the extent that probably 80% of stranger rapes are reported. So it makes it seem like stranger rape is more common than intimate partner or acquaintance rape. The fact is that those just happen to be reported more often because as a society we tend to blame the victim less for a stranger rape than we do for intimate partner or date rape. Some people believe in a blitz rape script. It's something that the man or woman, but generally a man, comes in, attacks the person, gets out, and it's just a bing, bang, boom, we're done. So if the rape itself does not fit that description, then people have more difficulty labeling it as rape and more difficulty reporting it and getting it believed and actually pursued as rape. The amount of force or injury suffered in an assault also affects, unfortunately again, the believability of the rape report. Especially when it comes to a victim who knows her perpetrator. So if there was little force and very little injury suffered, it's a harder row to hoe for that person than it is if there was significant force or injury to show that there was a struggle. Peer influences and acceptance of aggressiveness in sexual encounters also affects labeling and reporting. If in this person's peer group, aggressive sex, rough sex, whatever you want to call it, is not unusual, if the person may have engaged in fantasy play before that involved aggressiveness, it becomes harder again to label it as rape for them to really differentiate between, was this rape or was this, some weird miscommunication. It becomes more difficult. Also, if that peer group, that person's peer group, also engages in similar behaviors because they may dismiss the severity of the situation. And people who have a history of sexual victimization also tend to have different levels of reporting. They tend to report less, especially if they were sexually assaulted as children. Stranger versus acquaintance versus intimate partner rape. In intimate partner assaults, there are more non-genital injuries, fat lips, black eyes, broken ribs, and the non-genital injuries tend to be more severe in intimate partner rape than in acquaintance or stranger rape. In intimate partner rape, a lot of times what you're seeing is a symptom or a behavior that occurs within a relationship that on the broad scale is domestically violent. So that partner has used physical force to get his own way before with other things maybe, and has no qualms about extending it to rape. Substance use is most common in acquaintance rape. So you have intimate partner violence where substance use may or may not be a factor, but there's definitely a violence component. Substance use in acquaintance rape. A lot of times you hear of people going out on a date, getting intoxicated, and one thing leads to another, things go too far, and the girl says no, or at a fraternity party, people get drunk and things go awry, and there are lots of excuses that tend to come when alcohol is introduced. But you can see how in an acquaintance situation or in a date situation, in a party situation, substance use is not almost always there, but is there a lot of the time. So you can attribute part of it to the disinhibition from the substances. That doesn't excuse anyone's behavior by any means. And then in stranger rape, there's usually not a whole lot of substance use involved. It's usually someone who is intentionally targeting whoever the victim is for one reason or another.
The trolls, they can speak and they can talk and they can paint a picture of a character and a narrative that they want to. But when it comes to us speaking up for ourselves, then it's seen as wrong. And that's not right. So we're here to tell our side of the story because we are the ones that were here. We were the ones who witnessed it. If you listen to her story, we're there. So we're here to just shed some light. The T posted the interview back again, and we have some questions for that. We have some questions because it doesn't make sense that you will keep taking a video down because of what she's saying.
Yep. She proves that Free God is innocent, that Chief is innocent. She proves it through her words of what she's saying in this video. So,
as far as Malia, and Aya, Efru, all of them going online and proclaiming the kingdom and talking about how this particular person lied and did this, that, and the third, whatever. You have to understand that this is normal behavior for cult members, especially women. They are extremely traumatized. They are overly brainwashed and have a severe case of Stockholm Syndrome. Severe case. However, in all of their muck that's going on in their minds, there's a tad bit of clarity in there, even though this cult is dead wrong for everything they've ever done. But there's a tiny bit of clarity that they know that, okay, we ain't right. We know that. We're not going to say that. We know we're not right. But what's being said, that's not right. Yeah, he's physically abusive. Absolutely. Malia, you know you have been beaten umpteen times. Okay. We know that. We know this man is violent as heck. It's been said over and over and over again. However, does that mean that he did what he did? I wasn't there. You weren't there. She wasn't there. The seventh person that watched this video wasn't there. We don't know. All I do know is that these women are sick. They need to leave. They need to disperse. Everyone needs to be held accountable for every wrong that they did in this cult. And I'm saying every single person. No one should be excluded. No one. Because everyone witnessed illegal activity and never said a word. Everyone participated in illegal activity and never said a word. So everyone needs to be held accountable. In my opinion, everyone a part of this cult should be arrested. I don't care what you think. Everyone who was recently in this cult should be arrested. That's just, that's on bond, dog, like for real. All of them, including Flower, including y'all's precious Flower. But we'll talk about this more on Saturday. But don't bash me in my comments, because let me tell you, first thing, I don't care. Second of all, I'm very intelligent. Third, I'm gonna put my point on Saturday. Don't believe me? Stay tuned. Turn on your notification bells and watch. We need to talk about it. Let's talk about this like adults. Okay? Everyone isn't guilty. Everyone isn't innocent. Let's discuss it. Let's see what's going on. Because something's not right in the milk. And I don't drink milk. Shit is nasty.
Oh, okay, fine.
Did you do that on purpose?
I really didn't.
I watched you do that.
I didn't.
You
I was
said-
gonna put my phone down, and it just like the crack was there.
Shopping!
Shopping we go. To the shops. Thankful I'm gonna have to like.
I am a trick now, guys. I am good for money.
What?
Penis. That's all.
What?
What?
A trick is someone who buys bitches shit.
Yeah. I'm a
You're
simp.
lucky.
And I'm all that.
You're a simp more than a trick.
I'm...
No, actually, no. You're a trick.
Whoa.
No.
It's best with the insult. So I love when we roast ourselves. Because then it's like the best.